Memory of a Killer will return with an all-new season and find out what's next for Angelo. Memory of a Killer, coming soon on Fox.
Eden, why are you here?
Let's seize this opportunity for a second chance at love.
Tomorrow, the season finale you've been waiting for.
Do you want to have a baby with me?
What?
It's so juicy.
If you love her so much, why don't you tell her?
Nothing will be the same.
Things can turn on a dime.
All new Best Medicine, tomorrow on Fox.
Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
A decision handed down today by the Maine Supreme Judicial Court means ranked choice voting will continue to be used only for federal election races. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. The state's high court had been asked to render a decision on whether a bill that sought to establish ranked choice voting for certain state offices complied with the Maine Constitution. Well, the court concluded it does not. Ranked choice voting has been used to elect U.S. senators, U.S. representatives, and presidents, but years ago was rejected as a means to elect state representatives, senators, and governors. LD 1666 sought to reestablish ranked choice voting for these offices, but when the bill landed on the governor's desk last June, she questioned the bill's constitutionality. A joint decision from both houses of the legislature sent it to the High Court for consideration. That court has now concluded that the bill and the use of ranked choice voting for these state races would violate Maine's constitutional requirement that those races be decided by a plurality of votes, not a majority, meaning the winner is the one who receives more votes than any other, but not necessarily a majority or more than half of all votes cast. The decision was unanimous. Well, Maine Republican Party Chairman Jim Diamond spoke out praising the court's decision. In his statement, he said, quote, "Today is a good day. The Constitution of Maine is preserved and respected, and this decision provides clarity against efforts to pollute our state elections with ranked choice voting. Even in times when we often mistrust our institutions, we can rely upon our Constitution and deliberative justices to render the correct decision," end quote. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows also weighed in, saying, quote, "Based on today's ruling, ranked choice voting will be used in the June primary, but not in the November general election, just as has been the case in prior elections. In essence, nothing has changed. Mainers have repeatedly supported the use of ranked choice voting, which empowers voters to vote for their preferred candidate without worrying that voting for their top choice might result in their least favorite winning," end quote. Meanwhile, public health advocates convened in the Hall of Flags at the State House today to recognize National Public Health Week. 14 organizations from Maine's public health sector came together to address a wide variety of issues, such as food insecurity and protecting Maine's water from PFAS and radon. Many groups were also advocating for public health funding. According to the Maine Public Health Association, National Public Health Week aims to celebrate all that public health has accomplished to keep our communities healthy and safe.
It really gives us a chance to, I think, uplift the hard work that people in public health do every day, oftentimes behind the scenes, that kind of grunt work behind the scenes to help protect our communities. And so we have a whole week that we get to dedicate to that. It's both to the work that we do and to the people who do that work.
Well, more events are scheduled this week throughout the state, including a public health career panel this Thursday at the University of Maine in Orono. To learn more, you can visit mainepublichealth.org. Well, Republicans spoke out at the State House today to highlight the Rural Health Transformation Program, which they claim Governor Mills at one point jeopardized. In President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, $50 billion was earmarked for states to support rural health care, specifically rural hospitals. Roughly $200 million was supposed to be for the state of Maine. Republicans claim that the Mills administration missed repeated deadlines or milestones pertaining to receiving that funding. They did not cite specific examples. However, they lauded Senator Susan Collins for fighting for the state of Maine to get the funding and for making sure it wasn't lost.
She not only secured the $200 million earmark, but then now has had to play the role of Department of Health and Human Services bureaucrat too, just to save those funds and make sure that they actually make it into the state of Maine. And that's only a result of the fact that she happens to have a relationship with Dr. Oz over at the federal department. and interceded on our behalf. Had she not done that, those funds would be gone.
A coalition of health professionals and child health advocates gathered at the State House today to support a bill that aims to protect medical cannabis patients. Opponents fear the bill would lead to increased costs that could impact small shops. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
According to health leaders, Maine is the only state in the country where medical cannabis is not required to be tested and tracked. LD 1847 aims to change that.
We want to make sure that these very long overdue and basic patient protections are put in place.
Unlike adult use cannabis, medical cannabis is not required to be tested for harmful contaminants like pesticides, heavy metals, or mold. The bill's sponsor, Representative Annie Graham, says it would implement regulations that are in line with existing rules for recreational cannabis.
It improves safety and transparency in the medical cannabis program, something that is long overdue.
Advocates warn the current lack of oversight puts patients at risk, especially pediatric patients who don't have access to adult use cannabis.
Those patients have to navigate the gray zones of the medical cannabis industry and try to find product that is properly tested. That shouldn't be their problem. It should be a standard across the board.
The bill has received pushback from opponents who argue these efforts could drive up prices, impacting smaller cannabis shops.
This bill is a proxy fight for the large cannabis corporations trying to put the mom and pop growers out of business.
Representative Graham says the legislation would exempt small growers as long as they label products as untested, and grant opportunities will be available.
I recognize it is expensive, but that I think it's important for the safety of patients.
The bill is currently in the Veterans and Legal Affairs Committee and is expected to hit the House and Senate floors in the coming days. In Augusta, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, switching gears now, last week, Mount Desert Island High School was put in lockdown, and that was not the first time the school had faced a hoax event. 3 years ago, when today's seniors were freshmen, they faced a similar situation. Officials say they learned a lot from that first emergency and revised how they respond. And as our Alex Schley tells us, parents say the difference is clear.
Friday, Mount Desert Island High School was placed on lockdown after school administrators received what law enforcement initially believed was a credible threat. Several parents who spoke with ABC 7 and Fox 22 Friday say they'd been through school emergencies before. On November 1st, 2022, Mount Desert Island High School went into a lockdown after administration received a similar threat. However, parents say that situation was handled much differently.
My stepdaughter was a freshman when that took place, and if they were outside, they had to just run.
Meanwhile, students inside were left in the dark for hours.
The teachers weren't telling us anything. We were getting updates from other students online.
When students were reunited with their families nearly 5 hours later, they say there was still very little information officials would give them. Since then, police and first responders say they've made changes focused on training, communication, and preparation.
We learned that any sort of event, it's really important that everybody knows what the protocols are and why they are the way they are. And we practice them as much as possible. And by doing that, that creates the atmosphere to know when that alarm goes off, they know what to do.
Bar Harbor police say in addition to refining their practices, since the 2022 lockdown, they have also attended additional training.
We actually just this spring have done a joint training drill with state agencies as well as us for these types of responses.
Parents say the changes in preparation showed.
You had to go through it already with your stepdaughter
3 years ago.
This time around, a little bit different.
A little bit more serious.
Friday's lockdown lasted less than 45 minutes. And before students left school, officials told them they believed the threat was a hoax. Parents say communication was also much better, with many saying they were able to speak directly with law enforcement. Parents say while the situation was still frightening, the response this time made all the difference. In Bar Harbor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, an annual campaign to honor survivors, lift up their voices, and bring communities together in the fight to prevent sexual violence. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the movement, recognized by the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. Local leaders with rape response services say the issue remains urgent, with 1 in 5 Mainers experiencing sexual violence at some point in their lives, making awareness more important than ever. Executive Director Senator Tamar Matthews says open conversation is key to ending the cycle.
It's a public health issue. We need to talk about public health issues in order to solve them together as communities. When we don't talk about it, it makes survivors feel shame and stigma, and that shame and stigma leads to silence, and that silence allows sexual violence to happen.
Tomorrow, Tuesday, April 7th, is a National Day of Action, with people encouraged to wear teal as a symbol of support for survivors and a commitment to prevention. If you or someone you know has been a victim of sexual assault and needs help, you can call the Maine Coalition Against Sexual Assault at 800-871-7741, which will connect you with a local advocate. You can find that information and more on the National Sexual Violence Resource Center on our website, and that is foxbangor.com. Well, 2 Maine forest rangers were honored today for their life-saving efforts one day back in July that helped save a woman's life.
Will they please rise and accept the greetings and thanks of the House?
Well, Maine Forest Rangers Sergeant Brian Getchell and Ranger Ryan Maker received the Life-Saving Award today. On July 16, 2025, Getchell and Maker were conducting routine campsite checks along Machias River. They came upon a couple, the female showing signs of discomfort and other worrying symptoms as well. The Rangers recognized signs of a serious cardiac or neurological emergency and immediately took action. They called for assistance and moved her to a site where EMS could get to them and then transport her to Bangor for care.
By recognizing critical symptoms early, initiating emergency response without delay, and guiding the patients to accessible medical care, Rangers Maker and Sergeant Getchell played a crucial role in preventing a potential fatal outcome.
Also, a business in Brewer has plenty to be proud of after receiving a prestigious award. This company is credited with making technology that makes our U.S. military stronger. According to Senator Susan Collins' office, Compotech, a defense technology company based in Brewer, has been named the Small Business Administration's New England Small Business Manufacturer of the Year. Other SBA annual Small Business Award winners include Spud Speedway in Caribou, Fundamental Foot Care in Hamden, and Rick's Redemption in Presque Isle. Congrats to all of those winners. Certainly nice to hear our Maine businesses being recognized. Alrighty, folks, let's pause now and take a first look at our forecast.
All right, Beth, thank you. Old Time Redemption now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. And we're talking weather out there today. Temperatures slightly below average today. But again, the talk this week is going to be the warmer temperatures on the way after kind of a cooler day once again for tomorrow. All right, so today, lots of clouds across our area, a couple sprinkles in there and a couple flurries in there as well. We'll keep this going tonight and throughout the day tomorrow. In fact, the bulk of this energy over here comes through late in the day tomorrow, and likely giving us a couple snow showers as it does, a couple flurries in there, also some light rain showers. That will be done though tomorrow night, and then a nice day for us on Wednesday. So again, decreasing clouds tonight, then increasing clouds tomorrow. Then here we are late in the day tomorrow with a couple of snow showers around. Somebody could see a dusting to a ½ inch of snow tomorrow. It quickly gets out of here. Behind that, we're off for a nice couple days around here. Our forecast then for tonight though is partly cloudy skies to mostly cloudy skies with low temperatures down near 27. Your full forecast is coming up.
Jeff, thank you. Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, delays should be expected as road work commences on I-95 in Bangor, and a local car dealership stepped up to support hospice volunteers. We'll have those stories and more local news when we come back.
From the heart of Maine, where rugged beauty meets timeless craftsmanship, Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, taming the outdoors through groundwork, retaining walls and seawalls, building custom fireplaces that become the centerpiece of your home, crafting granite steps and patios that invite you outdoors, designing hardscapes that turn yards into living spaces, built to last, crafted for life. Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, quality in every stone.
Are you experiencing foot pain? Comfort Shoes & More has a team of experts trained in podorthics to help you find relief. They offer tailored fittings, shoe modifications, customized orthotics, and much more for the ordinary or the hard-to-fit foot. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear for men and women from today's top brands: Hoka, Brooks, Keen, Merrell, and Ariat. From running to walking, casual or dress, they have it all. Take the drive to Newport for a sit-in fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
It's all fun
all hybrid and all-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive Toyota Camry Hybrid, a well-appointed, stylish hybrid that's all about comfort and all about exceptional driving range. And with special 3.99% financing for 72 months, all about great value. The all-fun, all-wheel drive Camry Hybrid, an all-around great choice. See your New England Toyota dealer, your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
When the morning light hits Maine, start your day with a good morning, Maine. Craig Colson, Janessa Bishop, by your side, bringing the stories that matter statewide. Local news and the forecast ahead. Wake up informed, ready to go on ABC 7 and Fox 22.
Welcome back. A heads up for anyone traveling through Bangor on Interstate 95. There is some scheduled road work in the area of Stillwater Avenue that began today. The Maine DOT will begin clearing the median to start the process of replacing 3 major I-95 overpasses in Bangor. The Stillwater Avenue Bridge will go from 2 bridges to a single-span bridge. The Kenduskag Avenue Bridge will be replaced with a shorter, high-clearance span. There will be traffic updates from Maine DOT on their Facebook page and public and social media as well. Well, a local car dealership gave a boost to hospice volunteers of Hancock County today so they can continue helping Mainers. Hospital volunteers support patients on palliative or hospice care and provide other services like lending out medical equipment, advanced care planning, and community education as well. Meanwhile, Stanley Subaru has been running their Roundup for Change program, which asks guests to round up their purchases to the nearest dollar, with the proceeds going to local nonprofits. The hospice organization says Stanley Subaru has been a steady source of support over the years.
We really do count on our donors. We count on sponsors from the community for our events. We count on organizations such as Stanley Subaru, again, who continues to just find ways to give to us. And this roundup for March is another way they've done that.
Well, hospice volunteers of Hancock County received a check for $625 from Stanley Subaru thanks to their Roundup for Change program. Well, it is one of the places that some almost fear these days, pulling up to a gas pump. Our friends at Gas Buddy took a look at last week's surge in prices, and it's not good. The research says that the average gasoline price in Maine has risen just under 14 cents per gallon in the last week, the average being $3.96 a gallon. And the numbers don't really get better from there. Maine is up 64.5 cents per gallon from a month ago. Meanwhile, the national average price of diesel has increased almost 21 cents compared to a week ago and stands at $5.57 per gallon. Well, coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, President Trump took questions at a White House press conference on the Iran war, and the House is still out this week as leaders try to sync up with the Senate on a DHS funding deal, but resistance from conservatives could complicate things. Those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
We're lucky to live in Maine. We have a wealth of natural resources, hardworking people, and time for the things that matter. Mechanical Services is all about Maine, with energy efficiency that protects our environment and helps businesses grow. Preventive maintenance and energy solutions that save money. How Maine is that? Mechanical Services. We're everywhere you are in Maine.
Whether you're hurt by a landscaping truck like this, a work van like this, or any commercial vehicle, we know how to get you the big money you may deserve.
Hurt by a commercial vehicle? Call the twos. We win for you.
Are your gutters weighed down by debris causing them to sag and overflow? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems. Clogged gutters lead to costly repairs for your home, so skip the cleaning and stop the clogs with Gutter Shutter. Gutter Shutter, the world's best gutter, is a high-performance gutter with a lifetime no-clog guarantee. Stop the clutter, get Gutter Shutter. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Whoever wins the most duels will have their turf frozen.
People are going to get rewarded for being aggressive.
Almonds.
Mermaid.
Cast.
Oh my God.
That could punch your ticket to the final.
The Floor, season premiere April 8th on Fox.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Elite Special Forces operators, dozens of aircraft, and an elaborate CIA campaign were all used to rescue an American airman shot down behind enemy lines. Fox's Rebecca Castor has more details on this daring mission.
This was an incredibly dangerous mission, but a filled promise made to every American warfighter that you will not be left behind.
Military officials going in depth discussing the incredible operation to bring a U.S. airman home after his fighter jet was shot down over Iran.
It's like finding a needle in a haystack, and the CIA was unbelievable.
2 airmen ejected after their jet was hit by a shoulder-fired missile. The pilot was found quickly, while the backseat weapons officer hid in a remote mountain crevice for nearly 2 days. The CIA used a deception campaign to make the Iranians believe the officer was already found and being moved on the ground. While the Iranians were confused, U.S. forces found him and took him out by helicopter.
Our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated by the success of this audacious rescue mission.
At the same time, the U.S. launched strikes on nearby targets to keep Iranian forces away from the officer. No Americans were killed during the mission, but it was dicey. The U.S. had to blow up 2 planes that got stuck in sand at a makeshift landing strip in Iran to ensure sensitive equipment did not fall into enemy hands. President Trump credits the hundreds of American forces involved and divine intervention for a successful rescue.
When you go into these areas, you don't come out like we came out. God was watching us.
One of the 2 airmen is already receiving medical care at the U.S. military hospital in Germany, and the other is on his way there today. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Congress is still on recess this week, and that means there is little lawmakers can do to try to align with the Senate's Homeland Security bill so the agency can finally be fully funded. House Speaker Mike Johnson has signed on to the plan after pressure from President Trump, but he's dealing with backlash from conservatives. Fox's Alex Hogan has more from Washington.
Both houses of Congress remain in recess more than a week after they passed conflicting bills to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Now, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is calling for the House to get back to work.
The House of Representatives, under the leadership of Speaker Johnson, and Republicans need to bring us back into session so we can actually reopen the Department of Homeland Security.
But House Republicans are still at odds over the Senate's 2-track funding plan, which strips out funding for ICE and CBP into a separate bill. Conservatives still won't back that option, so Republican leaders are eyeing another plan, a budget reconciliation bill to fund the entire department all at once. President Trump set a deadline of June 1st for Congress to send him that bill.
The Senate sent us a bad bill. We really need reconciliation to start first.
Democrats are calling that idea a non-starter, saying that they need to see real reform before they back more funding for ICE.
I believe in border security. I believe in interior immigration enforcement. I also don't think that masks and guns mix very well.
Meanwhile, those long lines at airports are starting to ease after TSA workers got retroactive pay last week. And the White House is now proposing more airports privatize TSA security next year as the partisan gridlock continues.
There are conversations continually going back and forth on how to do this, but I can't pretend that we're there.
Right now, 20 airports in the U.S. have private security checkpoints under contracts that are supervised by the TSA. In Washington, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
President Trump is preparing new tariffs on steel and aluminum, but some critics say they will have a negative impact on military readiness at a time when the U.S. is involved in multiple engagements around the world. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
American businesses are bracing for another round of Trump tariffs. Right now, the global tariff is at 10%. The White House is floating the idea of increasing it to 15%, prompting sharp criticism from Democrats who say it's fueling the affordability crisis.
The Trump tariffs have increased costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year, as well as on small business entrepreneurs and on farmers throughout this nation.
And the president is also targeting aluminum and steel. Tariffs on those metals are still 50%, but under a new rule announced last week, items that are made up of a significant amount of them, like washing machines, would be taxed at a 25% rate. The White House claims the policy is already helping to boost American manufacturing.
Americans are making more stuff, they're getting paid more to make it, and they're selling more of it overseas. So on every count, it's been a big win.
But critics argue it's the wrong time for these types of tariffs because they could make it more difficult for the Pentagon and America's allies to rearm after 4 years of the war in Ukraine and a month of heavy airstrikes on Iran.
He has hurt NATO badly by imposing tariffs on NATO countries without any consultation.
Meanwhile, the European Union is making a big push to expand its own manufacturing base, framing it as a response to the Trump tariffs.
We need to protect our production capabilities, so we are creating Made in Europe, just as the Americans are doing.
Tariffs are expected to be high on the agenda when President Trump travels to China next month for a meeting with Xi Jinping. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
NASA's historic trip around the moon now completed. The astronaut crew is heading back to Earth after a mission that will go down in history. Fox's Caroline Elliott has the latest.
NASA's Artemis II crew left Earth last week with one goal in mind. And as of Monday night, the mission around the moon is now accomplished.
It is so great to hear from Earth again.
The crew has officially gone further into deep space than any other human being has gone before.
We will construct science outposts. We will drive rovers. We will do radio astronomy. We will found companies. We will bolster industry. We will inspire. But ultimately, we will always choose Earth.
The Orion spacecraft traveled 152,000 miles away from Earth to get never-before-seen images of the moon and test the capsule's ability to operate in deep space and in extreme levels of space radiation. The crew celebrating the milestone with tears of joy and a dedication for NASA Commander Reed Wiseman's late wife, Carol, who passed away from cancer in 2020.
Our science team helped us out with a couple of relatively fresh craters on the moon that have not been previously named, and our crew would like to propose a couple of potential names. And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie, and it's a bright spot on the moon. And we would like to call it Carol.
The crew left the moon's orbit late Monday night and is now on their way back into Earth's atmosphere to return home as heroes. NASA expects the crew to splash down on Friday in the Pacific Ocean. At New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
Just an amazing accomplishment and an amazing crew. Alrighty, well, still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, our Alexa Kennedy was in Ellsworth to cover the change of ownership of a beloved business there. And in sports, Cooper Flagg continued making history on Sunday night. We'll be right back.
Maybe it's better I don't look.
Big stars bear down and bear it all.
It's the ultimate place for an adventure.
Bear Grylls is Running Wild. Premieres April 21st on Fox.
When I was 29, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I think part of research and advocating for more money for cancer research allows survivors to have more time. Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, they can have better outcomes, and therefore they can live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
Ready to create your backyard oasis? Alexander's Professional Landscaping will work with you to create your perfect outdoor space. Work one-on-one with our landscape designer to create a unique garden to fit your family's personal aesthetics and lifestyle. Have our pros install your new lawn, garden, or patio. Schedule a consultation today by calling 573-4497. Alexander's Professional Landscaping, the way landscaping should be.
As a hybrid pioneer, followed by years of refinement, Toyota has earned praise for creating the most advanced and reliable hybrid system. Now with more hybrid all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive models than any other brand. Like the affordable all-wheel drive Corolla Cross Hybrid with advanced tech and an up to 445-mile total driving range. So see your New England Toyota dealer, your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Bangor, ready to get rugged? Join the community April 20th for the massive grand opening of Rugged Roots Trading Post, Stillwater Avenue, Bangor. Meet the crew. Explore a wide selection of premium Maine-grown products. Doors open 9 a.m. Cut rate prices you won't believe. Can't wait till 4/20? They're open now. Or visit ruggedrootstradingpost.com. For use only by adults 21 years of age and older. License number AMS 1775.
Polling shows Americans are extremely or very concerned with rising healthcare costs. Fox Business correspondent Jerry Willis has what's behind the hikes in health insurance premiums.
Americans' frustration with rising healthcare insurance costs are threatening to bubble over at the ballot box in November. According to a new Gallup poll, healthcare costs are the #1 concern of Americans, with 61% of us saying we worry a great deal about healthcare access and affordability. The issue topping even worries about the economy and inflation. Concerns mounting after enhanced premium tax credits were allowed to expire by a Republican Congress. The result, according to the nonpartisan health policy organization KFF, is that annual out-of-pocket premium payments this year will more than double from $888 in 2025 to $1,900 this year. The loss of the credit only part of the issue. On top of that, insurers in the ACA marketplace are asking to raise rates by 18%. People who get their coverage from employers aren't insulated from higher insurance costs, which have risen 50% in 10 years.
Employers cover 160 million people in this country. And if you look at the cost of a family insurance plan offered by an employer, the premium is now $27,000 a year. You could buy a new car for that every single year.
A solution wouldn't appear to be in sight. Capping drug prices, creating a single payer system, or even going after hospital companies under antitrust laws are just some of the solutions being discussed. The issue could rebound with particular force for Republicans this November. 77% of enrollees in ACA plans live in states Trump won in the 2024 election. In New York, Jerry Willis, Fox Business.
As the search for her mother enters a third month, Savannah Guthrie is back working on NBC's Today Show. It comes as investigators continue looking for a suspect and motive in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Fox's Max Gordon reports.
It is good to be home.
Yes, it is good to have you back at home.
Savannah Guthrie returning to the anchor desk at Today more than 2 months after her mom Nancy disappeared.
Well, here we go, ready or not. Let's do the news.
Yeah. She later greeted supporters outside, thanking them for their prayers.
You guys have been so beautiful. I've received so many letters, so much kindness to me and my whole family, and we feel it. And we feel your prayers, so thank you so much.
Nancy was reported missing from her Tucson home on February 1st. Investigators believe she was taken against her will in the middle of the night. The FBI released door cam video showing a suspect on Nancy's front porch, but despite a massive search involving thousands of federal and local officers, there's been no sign of the 84-year-old.
This is arduous terrain. I mean, it's undulating hills. You've got saguaro cactuses. You've got all kinds of unforgiving landscape there.
In an interview last month, Savannah Guthrie said she and her siblings responded to 2 ransom notes that they believed were real and offered to pay. But so far, no arrests have been made, and investigators say the number of credible tips has slowed.
Every day that goes by just becomes more difficult to believe that it's going to be a successful reunion with Savannah and her mother.
The Guthrie family is still offering a $1 million reward for information leading to Nancy's recovery. In Los Angeles, Max Gordon, Fox News.
This year, National Robotics Week is April 4th through the 12th. It's a time to raise awareness about robotic advancements and help inspire future generations to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. Fox's Sue Guzman takes a closer look at the work being done by researchers at Arizona State University who are building a new line of strong robots.
With National Robotics Week lasting through April 12th, engineers from around the country are applauding advances in technology. But while inventions have come so far as different kinds of robots work across a variety of industries, teams at Arizona State University are hoping to keep pushing the boundaries with their new soft robot muscles.
These muscles are, compared to human muscles, about 10 times stronger.
Analysts say many traditional robots today rely on metal and motorized parts, which can make them heavy and dangerous if they break down or go on the fritz while being worn or worked alongside of.
They have rigid, very stiff joints that can be quite dangerous to be around, or just are only really useful in very controlled environments like in factories.
To make robots lighter, teams at ASU say theirs don't require motorization.
Our muscles are powered by pressurized fluid, so that could be pneumatics, hydraulics, or even boiling liquid, which produces a gas, and that can cause pressure inside our muscle, which will expand, and that's where our pressure source comes from.
They're also made with soft moldable materials instead of metal cables and gears.
So they can conform to bodies, and they are inherently safe because they're soft. So there's no risk of pinching.
Researchers say stronger and more flexible technology can help improve and expand robotic functions in extremely hot temperatures and underwater. They add that lighter robots will also be important for future missions in space, where every inch aboard a rocket is precious and with heavier gear requiring more fuel. Sue Guzman, Fox News.
The Super Mario Galaxy movie earns just shy of $400 million worldwide on Sunday. Fox Business Network's David Asman has a look at that story and more in today's Fox Means Business.
Markets finished in the green for your Monday. All three major indices ended at least 1/3% higher. Well, the Super Mario Galaxy movie scored the biggest opening of the year for a Hollywood movie. The Illumination and Nintendo's co-production earned an estimated $372.5 million worldwide. Other top blockbuster releases this year includes Amazon's Project Hail Mary and Disney's Pixar animated film Hoppers. Well, Paramount Skydance is getting a massive financial backer in its takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. The media giant has received signed equity commitments of nearly $24 billion from three sovereign wealth funds led by Saudi Arabia to help offset takeover costs. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund has agreed to provide roughly $10 billion of the nearly $24 billion to Paramount. And Strategy, the Bitcoin treasury firm, recorded a $14.5 billion unrealized loss in the first quarter following a sharp decline in the value of its Bitcoin stash. The firm also separately disclosed the purchase of 4,871 Bitcoin between April 1st and yesterday, worth $330 million, bringing its total holding to 766,970 Bitcoin, worth roughly $58 billion. That's business. I'm David Asman.
And just ahead, we have your full 5-day forecast. Keep it right here.
All right, mostly 40s out there today, but the big story this week is going to be the warming temperatures by the end of the week. Also in there, some rain and snow showers. Details for you when I come back.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Let your creativity run free at the Creative Arts Center, where we offer fun and affordable activities for all ages. Birthday parties, pottery wheel classes, painting lessons, or just for the fun of it. Get fired up for glazing projects as well as acrylics. We offer a wide selection of ceramic products for you to choose from, and we have thousands of pieces ready to paint. We are a Paragon kiln dealer and a Laguna Clay distributor. Stop by the Creative Arts Center today, located just off the Joshua Chamberlain Bridge in Brewer. The Creative Arts Center, where your only limitation is your imagination.
Mainers know what to do after an accident.
Call the experts.
Call Joe.
Over 25,000 victories for injured Mainers.
Fighting and winning for injured Mainers for over 50 years.
The law offices of Joe Bornstein.
The name you know and the firm you trust.
Representing injured Mainers in all 16 counties. Get Joe's team working for you today.
207 Call Joe.
Or online at joebornstein.com.
Accidents happen. To be their specialty.
Tell them you made business.
Step into a story that's funny, touching, and deeply human. Winterport Open Stage presents The Dining Room by A.R. Gurney. This unique production blends a series of scenes into a heartfelt look at family and tradition. Performances run May 1st, 2nd, 8th, and 9th at 7 p.m., with matinees May 3rd and 10th at 3 p.m. at Samuel Wagner Middle School in Winterport. For tickets, visit winterportopenstage.net or find Winterport Open Stage on Facebook.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
So what's it like being a doctor in Port Wynn?
This town is ridiculous.
Come on, you're starting to like it here.
Best Medicine, all new Tuesdays on Fox.
All right, thank you. Blazing Trails are blazing the trails to holistic medicine, and we are talking weather out there for us today. And again, not the warmest day. Could use some more sunshine in there as well, but overall not bad. 44 here in Bangor today. 39 will not get below average today, and likely tomorrow before it does get a bit warmer around here, most likely on Wednesday. So the cold stuff is right here. The warm stuff is right here. We're fighting again across the Midwest, and we are eventually going to get a bit warmer now, as we do have 50s and 60s back in the forecast by the end of the work week. Okay, the wind out there today got a little gusty, right? Northwest around 10 to 20 miles per hour. Had a few gusts near 30. This will come down for a while tonight. Actually go calm for a couple hours, and tomorrow come back out of the southwest throughout the afternoon. So wave heights out there now around 3, 4, 5 feet directly offshore, building much higher as you go out to sea, but those will likely stay there for a couple of days. So thus out there now, there are no watches anywhere across our region currently. That's pretty rare for us, as you know. Likely staying this way through tonight into tomorrow as well. So going forward, so a couple of sprinkles and flurries cannot be ruled out tomorrow morning. General more burst of snow is in the forecast for us about this time tomorrow evening, followed by sunshine Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then warmer temperatures too. Again, 60s are not out of the question for the weekend. We have earned it, as you know. Okay, so out there today, lots of cloud cover across the area, comes some sprinkles, a couple flurries in here, not a big deal. The energy, though, with this does come by about late in the day tomorrow, and this is going to come by about 9 o'clock or so, and that could easily give us a couple bursts of heavier snow and or a quick shower out there, and then we're done. High pressure is going to build in for a couple of days. That's our friend, is sinking air, and then behind that, probably our next system gets in here later in the weekend. So increasing clouds out there again tomorrow about midday or so. Again, that burst of snow, some light rain shower activity later tomorrow evening. That quickly gets out of here tomorrow night, and then really for Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday, very nice days and warmer conditions for us going forward. And of course, we like the warmer temperatures. This will not be a big rain for anybody. We're talking maybe a quarter inch of rainfall between now and Friday afternoon. If you want some snow, again, a burst of snow is not out of the question tomorrow evening. Somebody could see a ½ inch of snow, maybe an inch of that system, but again, it'll melt very quickly tomorrow night as warmer temperatures are in here on Wednesday. Our forecast then for tonight, though, is partly cloudy skies with low temperatures kind of cool down near 21 and a calm wind late for tomorrow. All right, so mostly cloudy, a couple flurries and sprinkles followed by a burst of snow or at least a light rain shower late in the day. Look for high temperatures struggling to hit 40 tomorrow. I know, with that northwest breeze. And then looking ahead, your 5-day forecast shows 38 tomorrow, but then 46, sunny on Wednesday, Thursday 52, April sunshine all over the place here, right? Friday 58, and then here's the weekend looking pretty good. Saturday 58, maybe some showers in the forecast late Sunday with a high temperature near 60.
Thank you, Jeff. Looking forward to all that sunshine. Also looking forward to sports. It's next. Stay with us.
Your call is important to us.
You've heard this before, too many times. Tired of being customer 45978? Yeah, we would be too. Speed means fast uploads, no lag, and zero buffering. But it also means calling you back, showing up on time, and treating you like a person, not a problem. So whether you're working, streaming, gaming, or all three, it is time to make the switch to a provider that actually tries. Go NetSpeed. Service isn't dead. It just moved local.
As a hybrid pioneer, followed by years of refinement, Toyota has earned praise for creating the most advanced and reliable hybrid system. Now with more hybrid all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive models than any other brand. Like the affordable all-wheel drive Corolla Cross Hybrid with advanced tech and an up to 445-mile total driving range. So see your New England Toyota dealer, your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
I got hurt by a big truck. Why did I call the twos? Because life-changing injuries deserve life-changing money. We got a client who broke multiple bones in a commercial vehicle accident, $700,000. Call the two. We win for you.
The United Football League is back. A game experience like no other.
Beautiful throw.
Yeah! This is the United Football League on Fox.
Tuesdays, Fox's critically acclaimed hit Doc is all new.
I need to be the doctor that I was.
Doc, all new, Tuesdays on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. I hope you had a great first weekend of April, because Cooper Flagg certainly did. After becoming the first teenager to score 51 points on Friday night, Flagg was right back at it on Easter Sunday. In the Mavericks' 134-128 win over the Lakers, Cooper Flagg poured in 45 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds, including 19 of those 45 points in the first quarter. He picked up right where he left off, and the Mavs needed all of it to get past the Lakers on Sunday. He outdueled one of the greatest of all time in LeBron James, who scored 30. Here's Flagg on playing against one of the game's legends.
I think it's pretty cool. Obviously, he's somebody that, when I was a little kid, watching him go through his whole career. So it's really impressive, obviously, first of all, just to watch him and see him be able to do the things that he's, still able to do out there. But, it's a dream come true. These are the moments, these are the times, like, to be able to match up against somebody like that, the career he's had, he's obviously one of the greatest. So it's incredible.
So it's 96 points the last 2 games for Cooper Flagg as the season's winding down. Going into the weekend, and even before Sunday night's game, Flagg was trailing his good friend Con Knippel in the Rookie of the Year odds. But after his monster weekend, he's become the betting favorite. Flagg was asked about what sort of statement he made this past weekend.
I think it's definitely some sort of statement. But it just goes back to what I said. I'm confident in myself, and I know what I'm capable of, and I'll just let the rest of the stuff figure itself out.
You knew Coop had a little bit more up his sleeve. Well, it's the men's college national championship. It goes down on Monday night, but on Sunday afternoon, a champion was crowned in the women's game. The UCLA Bruins won their first title in the NCAA era, blowing the doors off South Carolina 79-51. A result that came as a shock to some Hoops fans, as South Carolina was coming off a win over the undefeated UConn Huskies. UCLA never trailed in the contest. The Bruins had 5 players in double figures, led by Gabriela Jaquez, who scored 21 points to go along with 10 rebounds. It was the first title for Coach Corey Close, who took over at UCLA in 2011. One of the best coaches in the sport without a title now has one, and she did it her way, pouring everything she has into relationships with players, making them realize they're people before players. Here she is post-game with her mom by her side.
It's immeasurably more than I could ask or imagine. It's beyond my wildest dreams. But it's meaningful because of the people I've gotten to share it with. It's all about the heart. And it would be shallow without an amazing village and incredible people that have poured into me my whole life.
Truly such a cool moment. Well, opening day was celebrated less than 2 weeks ago. I've talked to some Red Sox fans who are already sick of watching this team play. Following Sunday's 8-6 loss to the Padres, the Red Sox moved to 2-7. They currently stand alone in the basement as they're the only team in the league who doesn't have 3 or more wins. The Sox have a .226 batting average going into Monday as a team, paired with a .471 team ERA. Now, it is very early in the Sox, and the Sox could easily turn things around. However, the performances on both sides of the ball are extremely concerning for Sox fans, even given the small sample size. Sox star Roman Anthony says they need some urgency.
It's as disappointing as any loss, to be honest. It's not one man's fault. I think just as a team, we need to be better. I need to be better. Everyone in this room understands that they need to be better. We need to find a way to just bring more energy and just be better. This is unacceptable. It's unacceptable to the fans. It's unacceptable to the standard that we set for ourselves.
And shocker, the Sox fell to the Brewers on Monday night. Make that 2-8 as the struggles continue. The Portland Sea Dogs will host New Hampshire tomorrow afternoon at Delta Dental Park in the team's long-awaited home opener. The brand new field at Hadlock is already in great shape. The Sea Dogs grounds crew putting the final touches on Monday afternoon. It'll be a 4 p.m. start on Tuesday where kids can get in free of charge. You may want to bundle up, though, as it's going to be pretty chilly out there. Some of the Sea Dogs hitters were asked how difficult it is going from the mid-80s to the low 40s while still trying to hit a baseball.
It takes at least a month or two for me to kind of get acclimated to it again. Definitely was a big shock last year coming up here and having snow opening day. Having the snow come down for that first home game was definitely just a big culture shock to me. But then just kind of after a couple months getting kind of used to it again.
I think it's pretty different, and in Florida it's a little bit easier to get warm, but here you have to commit to stretch your body because that's your business.
Snow baseball at Hadlock in April, a tradition like no other. That's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
there's no reason to be overwhelmed.
No.
We can help you through it.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center is your destination for all things green, and yellow, and pink, and red, and, well, you'll understand when you visit us. Plants aren't just another department here. They're our whole world. From gardening classes to our expansive greenhouses, we cultivate a community of budding and seasoned gardeners alike. Professional landscapers turn to us too. Shouldn't you? Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center, growing with you since 1947.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
Jonathan Bush. He's a battle-tested trailblazer who's created over 900 jobs in Maine.
The jobs that Jonathan brought to Belfast were really transformative for so many families.
Now Bush wants to shake up Augusta. He'll slash wasteful spending and cut property and income taxes. $1 billion tax cut for hardworking Mainers.
Jonathan is a big thinker with big ideas, but he actually makes them happen.
I'm Jonathan Bush. I look forward to earning your vote.
It's back, Bangor. The Greater Bangor Area Music Showcase returns with the fan favorite music off-Broadway. Join Roger George and his talented musicians for an unforgettable show, all to support Rotary's work in our local community. Saturday, April 11th at 7 p.m. and Sunday, April 12th at 3 p.m. Getting your tickets is easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen. Bring your friends, bring your family, and enjoy a show that makes a difference. Don't miss it.
Stars, speed, and no margin for error. The road to Indy continues in Long Beach, Sunday, April 19th on Fox. Welcome to the fastest racing on Earth.
Competitions, thrillers, and comedies all have big finales on Fox TV this week. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has a look at what's coming.
New location, same me, y'all.
Survivalists take on one last extracted challenge as part of What's Hot on Fox.
That was a really long swim.
Monday is the season finale of Extracted Season 2. 3 finalists on their banished islands battle for resources once more, and one will win the $250,000 grand prize. Then mysteries from the past rise to the surface on Memory of a Killer.
Agent Grant is using her badge to settle a personal score.
Angelo races to protect his family from the ferryman, and it all leads to the thrilling season finale showdown.
Seems Elaine has been the one taking blood for quite a while.
Tuesday, Dr. Martin Best deals with the possibility of his blood phobia being revealed and the drama of his ex's arrival on the season finale of Best Medicine.
No, her chart's wrong. She's on way more than that.
That's followed by a very personal case on Doc when Joan arrives as a patient at the hospital.
Let's have a look.
Wednesday, return to the floor with host Rob Lowe and 100 new trivia players for Season 5.
Platforms on the move.
Thursday, Next Level Chef has a Wild West cook-off with rustic ranch cooking.
Quit gambling.
Animal Control goes all in on the comedy. Daisy and Shred take a gamble trying to help Frank win back union funds.
Approaching the extraction point.
Ongoing Dutch, the colonel throws his back out and is ordered to rest as the base sweeps for landmines at a local farm. And over the weekend, Sunday starts and ends with the Griffins. Animation Domination lineup is all new, including 2 episodes of Family Guy. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
After 30 years of serving classic Maine dishes, a popular Ellsworth restaurant is under new ownership, marking a big change for a longtime local favorite. Our Alexa Kennedy has more.
We've kind of been somewhat of a dinosaur. We haven't changed much over 30 years because when people come to Maine, they want a shore dinner, they want lobster stew, they want a lobster roll, they want blueberry pie, so we give them what they want.
Brian Langley built the business in 1996 on a former fish market site in Ellsworth. Buyer Diwa Tepa, who Langley says has extensive experience in hospitality, plans to keep much of what customers have come to love.
We wanted to invest in our community in Ellsworth, sees us as very viable, loves what we do, and the reputation and the people that work for us and our customers.
Langley says he passed down multiple award-winning top-secret recipes that he hopes customers will continue to enjoy. He says he appreciated getting the opportunity to impact his community.
But when I look at all the people that have come through here in 30 years, we've had doctors, lawyers, nurses, and all of these kids started their very first job here at the restaurant, bussing tables, washing dishes, waiting tables through college.
In Ellsworth, Alexa Kennedy, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Quite a bit of history there, that is for sure. Alrighty, folks, that's going to do it for us. From everyone here at Fox 22 News, take care and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC 7, right now for ABC 7 News at 11.
Shrinking's Jason Siegel and Abbott Elementary's Lisa Ann Walter on a new Jimmy Kimmel Live later tonight.
Perhaps the most shocking case of murder and mayhem we've ever seen.
Don't pull it out! Oh, God.
I mean, Rich Raleigh was retired LAPD.
Los Angeles does have a pretty dark history. Rich took it to the next level.
He stumbled upon a series of connected murders. A murder cult.
He'd been onto them for years. They found out about it.
Rich believed something darker.
Something evil's in here.
Oh, God. LAPD, and we are making entry.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
A decision handed down today